Never judge a book by its cover. You've heard this saying, right? But what happens when someone actually forgets it, in front of a world-famous superstar? Well, that's exactly what happened inside one of the most expensive watch boutiques in Los Angeles. When a young saleswoman laughed at a man dressed in old jeans and boots, not realizing it was none other than Keanu Reeves. What he did next left her completely speechless, and taught her a lesson she'd remember for the rest of her life. Stay tuned, you won't believe how this story ends. It was a bright afternoon in Los Angeles. Inside an ultra-luxury watch boutique on Rodeo Drive, sunlight poured through the crystal-clear glass windows, reflecting off rows of gleaming timepieces. The atmosphere was hushed, elegant, almost intimidating. Behind one of the polished counters, a young saleswoman named Amanda worked carefully, arranging a fresh display of limited-edition Swiss watches, the kind of masterpieces that came with six-figure price tags. The boutique wasn't for everyday shoppers. Its clientele consisted of the ultra-wealthy, CEOs of global companies, famous athletes, movie stars, and billionaires. That's why when the door quietly swung open and a tall, slightly scruffy-looking man entered, Amanda barely gave him a glance. Dressed in a plain t-shirt, worn-out jeans, and scuffed boots, the newcomer didn't exactly scream millionaire. He looked more like a tourist than someone who could actually afford anything in the store. But then, something unexpected happened. The man walked with calm confidence toward the glass counter and stopped in front of Amanda. His gaze was focused, steady, and locked onto one particular watch in the case, a platinum timepiece known for its exquisite craftsmanship and eye-watering price tag of nearly $200,000. In a soft voice, he spoke, "Could I see that one, please?" Amanda blinked and raised an eyebrow, her eyes quickly scanning his clothes once more. It was clear from her expression, she didn't think he belonged here. "You want to see this watch?" she asked with a smirk, her tone dripping with doubt. Then, turning slightly toward a colleague nearby, she chuckled and said, just loud enough for the words to carry, "Some people dream too big, huh?" The words hung in the air. Keanu Reeves, for it was indeed the famous actor, heard every syllable. Yet instead of looking offended, he simply offered a small, knowing smile. Keanu was no stranger to this kind of treatment. Over the years, he had encountered countless people who either idolized him or completely underestimated him. Fame had taught him many lessons, one of which was that appearances often mislead. He knew that many judged others based on what they wore or how they looked, and he had long since grown used to it. Unlike most celebrities, Keanu had no interest in dressing to impress. There were no flashy designer suits, no diamond-studded watches, no entourage of bodyguards. He moved through life with humility, preferring simplicity over spectacle. Today was no different, a plain t-shirt, worn jeans, and boots that had clearly seen better days. Yet despite his modest appearance, Keanu had a deep appreciation for fine craftsmanship, especially when it came to watches. With his calm and gentle demeanor, he looked directly at Amanda and replied in a soft voice, "Yes, I'd like to see it up close. Please." Amanda, still unconvinced and clearly amused, gave a small, dismissive smile. With a slight roll of her eyes, she reluctantly opened the glass case and handed him the platinum watch, her smirk barely concealed. In her mind, she thought, "He'll probably leave as soon as I tell him the price." But Keanu's eyes lit up as he held the watch, admiring every detail, the weight, the intricate movements, the flawless design. His appreciation was genuine. After a moment, he asked quietly, "How much is this one?" Amanda crossed her arms and replied bluntly, $200,000, expecting him to flinch or walk away. But to her shock, Keanu simply smiled and said, "All right, I'll take it." Amanda blinked, caught off guard. "You'll... what?" she stammered. "I'll take it," he repeated gently, his smile unwavering. Still thinking it was some kind of prank, Amanda forced a small, nervous laugh, trying to cover her growing discomfort. In an effort to maintain some level of professionalism, she said, "Sir, we only accept payment by wire transfer or platinum card for purchases of this level," her voice a touch firmer, hoping perhaps this would discourage him. But Keanu simply nodded, completely unbothered. "No problem," he replied calmly. Without any hesitation, he reached into his pocket and pulled out a sleek black credit card, the kind of ultra-exclusive card issued only to the world's wealthiest and most elite. In fact, even among billionaires, very few held one. The moment Amanda saw it, her breath caught. The situation was rapidly slipping out of her control. As if on cue, the store manager, having overheard the exchange, hurried over. The moment he recognized the customer, his entire demeanor shifted. "Mr. Reeves. Welcome, sir. We had no idea you were visiting today," the manager greeted him warmly, his voice filled with genuine respect and eagerness. Amanda's heart sank, her face turning pale as realization hit her hard. The casual arrogance, the smug assumptions she had displayed just moments earlier, now felt painfully foolish. She had unknowingly dismissed one of Hollywood's most beloved and respected actors, not just a customer, but a true gentleman. The manager quickly took over the transaction himself, eager to correct the situation and ensure Mr. Reeves received the highest level of service. "Please, Mr. Reeves, do have a seat," he offered graciously, pulling out a chair and signaling to another staff member. Moments later, a chilled glass of sparkling water was brought over. Amanda stood nearby, cheeks flushed with embarrassment, as the transaction she never expected was smoothly set in motion right before her eyes. While the manager smoothly processed the high-value transaction, Amanda remained close by, her mind swirling with regret. Her earlier confidence had completely crumbled. She avoided eye contact, cheeks flushed with embarrassment, silently wishing she could rewind the clock and behave differently. Keanu, noticing her discomfort, glanced over with a gentle expression. There was no anger or arrogance in his eyes, only kindness. Instead of holding a grudge or making her feel worse, he chose compassion. In his calm, warm voice, he said, "It's okay. Not everyone recognizes me out of the movies. But you know, it's good to treat everyone kindly. You never know who's standing in front of you." His words weren't meant to shame her, they were a simple, honest reminder of a life lesson many forget. Hearing this, Amanda felt a lump rise in her throat. Her eyes began to well up, a mixture of shame and gratitude washing over her. She had judged someone by appearance alone, and now here he was, offering kindness instead of criticism. Struggling to speak, she stammered softly, "Mr. Reeves, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to be rude." Keanu gave her a reassuring smile, his voice still gentle. "No worries," he replied kindly. "You're young. Just remember, respect isn't about money or looks." The sincerity in his words touched Amanda deeply. They carried more weight than any harsh reprimand ever could. In that brief exchange, Keanu had taught her something she would never forget. Humility, kindness, and respect for others, these mattered far more than status or wealth. Standing there, Amanda silently promised herself to treat every customer and every person with the respect they deserved, no matter how they looked or what they wore. It was a lesson she would carry for life. A few minutes later, the store manager returned, carrying an elegant, velvet-lined box containing the exquisite platinum watch, along with a printed receipt. With a warm smile, he presented them to Keanu. "Everything's ready, Mr. Reeves. And we'd be honored to gift you this leather travel case as well, complimentary," he added, hoping to show appreciation for the actor's graciousness. Keanu accepted the gesture with genuine gratitude, nodding softly. "Thank you, that's very kind," he said. As he stood up, preparing to leave, he turned toward Amanda, who was still standing nearby, her emotions visible in her eyes. In his usual calm and humble tone, Keanu said, "By the way, thank you for showing me the watch. I hope you have a good day." The kindness in his voice caught Amanda off guard once again. But what happened next truly left her stunned. Before walking away, Keanu casually reached into his jacket pocket and handed Amanda a small envelope. Curious and confused, she opened it and gasped. Inside was a crisp stack of bills, a tip of $5,000, more than her entire monthly salary. Her hands trembled slightly as she looked up at him. "But why?" she whispered, her voice barely audible. Keanu smiled softly, his eyes kind. "Sometimes kindness is returned with kindness. And sometimes a second chance," he replied. There was no arrogance, no grand gesture, just a simple, heartfelt message. With that, he turned and exited the boutique, moving as quietly and humbly as he had arrived. Amanda stood frozen, overwhelmed by the unexpected generosity and the life lesson she had just learned from a man she had judged far too quickly. It was a moment she would never forget. So, friends, this story reminds us, never judge anyone by how they look. Kindness and respect can leave a bigger mark than any expensive watch. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, share with your friends, and subscribe to the channel for more inspiring stories. See you in the next video.